Keyboard Warriors, brought to you by our incredible friends at Barrel Theory Beer Company. Right now, crushing the beer that they have on tap at the X all season. Raindrops, their flagship IPA, all of March, pretty much all home games. Get out there, check them out. You can get their Raindrops at sections 112, 217, club level 36, and you can get their Crowlers at section 105. Got Spoke Z here, riding shotgun for these hot takes with you guys. Z, we got a couple interesting ones here. We were talking before we jumped on about some of the nonsense across the internet about what is or isn't a hot take, and most of the hot takes were very, very not hot. Hopefully we can bring a little bit of spice here. I don't know. At this point, I just don't care.
I'm scrolling. I'm literally Googling because now I'm just in this groove where I'm finding a bunch of funny ones where I'm like, people clearly were like, I don't have anyone to tell this to, so I'm going to pretend they can post on the internet, but they're getting some of the most vicious replies. And there's, at this point, been better off just keeping it in, especially because it's some of the most benign takes of all time.
This is
dying laughing, dude.
I wish that you were brave enough to share with everyone which Twitter account you were scrolling to try and find hot takes, but we'll move past it.
This is Reddit now, so we moved on to Reddit.
First one we have here is coming off of the Four Nations face-off. All-Star game is obviously like forever murdered. I don't think that's a hot take at all. But if we talk Four Nations, we got a great submission on the Twitter for how to make Four Nations facing off work. Those who are listening, you definitely want to go over to YouTube and look, because the visual here is very necessary. We've basically got a hockey rink that looks like, you can call it a cross, a plus sign, I don't care what it is. There's four ends of the ice, and all Four Nations will be facing off at the exact same time. I love this. I would pay a lot of money to watch this if there was like something on the line and I knew the players would care. My real question here, Z, is like, what's the format for a tournament like this? Like, do you say that it's like each team has 5 goals to surrender, and like once you get scored on 5 times, you're out, and the other 3 keep going, other 2 keep going after that? Or like, is it a team scores so many goals and they are out because they move on? Like, how would you want to score Four Nations facing off at the same time?
Oh, okay. Initially,
can we agree that the idea in general is very fun?
Fun. It's one of those things where like, hey, is this a fun idea? Yes. Is it a good idea? No. Like in my head, I'm just like I don't even know this. What doesn't even really make sense, but I'm just picturing the Kachuk brothers fighting each other in the corner somewhere. Like, just got to it. I'm like, no, not
on the same team.
You're still on the same team. But like, yeah, there's four nets. This is crazy. But like, pretending like,
hang on. That's a great initial thought, though. You could literally have both Kachucks and JT Miller all fighting a member of 3 different nations.
JT Miller would be punching himself in the face still somehow, dude.
He's in the corner fighting himself.
He's fighting his reflection in the glass.
Like a goldfish.
And somehow the Vancouver Canucks fans will still be like, that's our guy.
Nope. I've got it even better. There is a fan over in the Sweden section holding up an Elias Pettersson like poster, and he's over there just going to.
He's going Milbury. He's climbing the glass and JT Miller has. So I mean,
oh no!
Now when you think about it,
his shoe.
The commentary would be like the Royal Rumble, where it's like, and JT Miller has jumped over the glass, but we would need multicam live feeds like NFL Red Zone, or what was the version the NHL tried that was ridiculous?
GoPros on every player's helmet.
Everyone has to wear a GoPro, which I think we should be doing that.
I agree.
Constantly anyways. But like in my head, you also need more than just one play-by-play guy. Like you need to have people everywhere commentating because there's so many angles. And I want it to be, if this is totally possible that this could happen. I want it to be as chaotic as possible, which again, like the first thing that popped in my head was somehow the Tkachuk brothers just ended up fighting each other in the corner somewhere. And they were like, all right, leave them alone. Let them sort that one out. But like, as far as the rules go, I like the idea of you get scored on 5 times, you're out. But at the same time, it's also very funny to me thinking about like you have to score 3 times and then you're like, once you score 3, you're done. And the last team that's just like 0 is just like.
No, I think you could do it both ways though. Like, so the first team to surrender 5 goals is eliminated. The first team to score 5 goals advances, and then the other 2, like whatever's left, they just go head to head and see how it works out. But I think it's a very interesting thing where, like, let's say Finland, sorry to be mean to Finland, like Finland gets eliminated and there's just that extra little like cavern of ice where like players can go just like set up and chill. Like you got Quinn Hughes posting up behind Finland's net, like waiting to do some kind of weird, like wonky breakout.
Let's just say that to throw another team in, they do a Team Europe. And this is the whole format the whole time. Just because there's a lot of really likable players that would be on Team Europe. Like imagine while these 4 teams are going at it, David Pasternak's wearing a purple jersey and he's only offense for every team.
just like the always quarterback concept. I love that.
He is just taking the red line and unleashing clap bombs on unsuspecting goals.
Here's my question: who is the most lethal, like blue line shot guy? Who is the defenseman that is the most lethal shot from the point current day?
Well, Team Europe might invite.
No. Period. It doesn't have to be Team Europe. Just any player.
I mean, Martin Ferk hit that puck like 109 mile or like 111 something.
Wait, do you just bring Chara back?
You bring Weber? Specialists.
Either Weber or Chara sits at the center dot, and if you give it to him, he just fires at one of the nets that's not yours, and that's it. That's all that happens.
Yeah. Here's another question though: how many pucks are on the ice at once? Is it just one? Because that's insane.
Shit.
You need more than one puck of 4 teams. Are just.
I think the bigger question before we answer how many pucks is how many players.
the whole run.
Because hang on, think about it. In this scenario, we've got 2 full ice rinks basically, but because the neutral zone is shared on both, it's technically a smaller rink. So it's almost like, do you go 3-on-3 or 4-on-4? Maybe 4-on-4 is the right answer.
It suits 4 nations, 4 guy plus Dave Pastrnak is all offense.
4-on-4, you have a defenseman who has to stay in your defensive zone. It's like lacrosse, right? Where like you can't cross the middle. So you have a defenseman who's stuck in the defensive zone. And granted, if a forward wants to stay back and let him go, they can, just like lacrosse. And then at center ice, there's a neutral player who, if you pass him the puck, he's ripping it, just not at your net. That's all you know for sure.
Yep. And again, I will firmly, I demand at least 2 pucks, because I think you should get 2 goals if your goaltender scores, because the goalie's paying attention somewhere else and they just rip one home.
What I'm imagining right now is like poor
idea.
Poor Philip Gustafsson in the Sweden net, and you've got McDavid and Matthews both coming at you from opposite sides. It's like, wait, what do I do here? And then they're so bold as to pass across to each other and then both shoot and score. It's like, what do I do here?
Boy,
that highlight would make rounds and rounds and rounds and rounds, and we'd have even more people being like, yo bro, what's this hockey thing? Hey, I'm a fan now.
Can you imagine? And by the way, the last 10 minutes are exactly why NHL/hockey fans can't have anything nice, because we had one fun tournament and here we are trying to come up with the most insane idea of all time and ruining it a month later.
No,
just kidding. It's the best.
We are enhancing it. How dare you? And let's be real. Like, the All-Star game is dead. It is. And you can't do the Four Nations face-off ever again. It's dead. This is the only way you could reincarnate the Four Nations face-off. I brought up with Joe last week on the hot take segment, or maybe it was with you. I don't even remember at this point. But just like the idea of doing like reality TV, right? Like having the players, instead of playing hockey, like have them show up and like compete in Survivor or Traders or Big Brother or something.
I like that.
That would be very fun.
Imagine a Survivor and how much of a fuck, or I can't remember if I can swear on Fellowship.
Yeah, you can. Go for it.
Okay. How much of a fucking rat Brad Marchand would be in Survivor, dude? He would have the most diabolical ideas. He'd
have the idol.
Yeah, no, he would. I like that idea. I like that idea, though. Some reality TV stuff.
I think it'd be very entertaining. You get to know the players more, just like the Amazon series, except they're like going head to head. I have to bring it up. We are going to spend like this entire segment just talking about this one topic, but someone brought up, I can't remember what show it was on, the idea of doing cross sport all-star competitions. So hear me out. Let's say every like locale that has at least 3 of the big 4, right? You show up and you do a skills competition across all sports. So like for Minnesota, it would be Anthony Edwards, Kirill Kaprizov, and Justin Jefferson going up against, for Boston, it'd be like David Pasternak, Drake May, and whoever's good at basketball over there, because I don't care about the Celtics. Like
Jason Tatum.
That sounds like a real person. Like that would be very fun. No?
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you did it, let's say you did it so that there's a skill for each sport, but the player who plays that sport doesn't participate. So like you've got for Minnesota, right? You got Jefferson and Edwards like doing some like one-timer competition or something. And then there's like a weird receiving one that only Edwards and Kaprizov do. And then there's like a 3-point shooting thing that's only Jefferson and Kaprizov. Like that sounds very interesting to me.
I like that. And now that I think about it, just because this is hockey, I take that back. I would have to go with Jaylen Brown instead of Jason Tatum. First of all, Jaylen Brown MVP or Finals MVP last year. Second of all, Jason Tatum's good buddies with fucking Matthew Tkachuk, and when the Bruins played the Blues in the Stanley Cup,
went to school.
Tatum was aggressively rooting for St. Louis, and everyone was like, "Fuck you, man! Like, come on, dick."
For St. Louis or Florida?
St. Louis. So he's from St. Louis.
In 19, he was.
Yeah, he was rooting for St. Louis. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then he's also really good friends with Matthew Tkachuk. And there's a very funny group project video of those two. It's unbelievable.
Oh, yes. That is very funny. Okay. Well, there is way more Four Nations and All-Star Game talk than I ever imagined we'd get into. Second hot take topic. Bob Motzko got exactly what he fucking wanted. He does not like bye weeks when it comes to Big Ten competition. That's known. The team's been like hot and cold. Like there's been great parts of their game, bad parts, but he wants to have this quote unquote 3-game series to open up to like get the boys going in the right direction. But they managed to tie for the regular season share, a share of the regular season Big Ten title, which got him his $40K bonus. Like it literally couldn't have worked out better. Bob planned this. You won't convince me otherwise. And he's a genius. And the idiots out there who are saying that he's a problem for the Gophers, he was a problem for St. Cloud, I just dismiss everything you say, because the Bob Motzko iteration of the Gophers, I'm obsessed with. Granted, Tampa Bay didn't work out the way we had hoped. He has done so much more for the Gophers in a short period of time than Don Lucia did over a very long stretch of time, and made us all very sad. Although he gave us the one great quote. I don't know if you heard this one, Z. they asked him why his son, Tony Lucia, was getting so much ice time and why he was playing on the power play. You know what his response was?
No.
I'm sleeping with his mom.
Be in the sun now, be like, everyone's miserable. Everyone's mad that I'm playing a lot. Now I'm talking, here's my dad talking.
It's pretty good. But, I mean, spot the lie. Bob Motzko planned all of this. It worked out exactly as he wanted. He gets a share. He gets $40K bonus and still doesn't get the first round bye in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah. And I mean, when you look at Notre Dame, they've won 10 games, but they've beat Minnesota, they beat Michigan. But at the same time, like, first of all, I love Bob Motzko. Anytime that he can get $40K, love it. So if he's got good vibes going into the Big Ten and then into like the tournament, like, pair that with the fact that next year World Juniors is in Minnesota, like, just get all the good vibes. He's setting himself up for success here.
Who's going to be coaching that team?
I forgot about that one.
It's probably going to be Bob.
That's what I was. Okay, I was like, wait, am I missing something? Because I was insinuating. I was like, and he's gonna, if he gets himself, I mean, he should be coaching that team next year. But
what a great play, by the way, from we all love him, right? Fearless leader of Denver, but he won back-to-back, and he knows the team's not as good next year. Great time to get out. Great time to get out.
A+ stuff. So again, Bob's giving himself great vibes going into the Big Ten. Great vibes going into the tournament. They do this thing. You got World Juniors next year. It'd be insane if they didn't have him coach World Juniors.
It feels like it'll go that direction, but we'll see. I mean, his number one player is going to be Brody Zemer, so why not?
Let's look at the suit.
Look at the suit. Again, anyone that's listening on audio, you better go over to the YouTube and check this out, because the suit Bob has is immaculate. It's Michael Russo approved.
And the pose, he must have. He's like, let me just post up right here.
Very chill.
The perfect form. Love it.
Just throwing out the vibe. The last one that we have here. This one's a little obscure and a bit of a stretch, but it'll be a good conversation, I'm sure. What would make for the most exciting offseason if you have no team allegiance and don't get offended by either of these teams improving? I'm firmly under the impression that the San Jose Sharks signing Mikko Rantanen and the Chicago Blackhawks signing Mitch Marner is the most fun we can possibly have this offseason. Rantanen is the perfect fit to throw in alongside a Macklin Celebrini, who is the premier setup guy. Brings in, Rantanen brings in the size, brings in the goal scoring touch, whereas Marner's the opposite. He comes in with all the playmaking ability to set up what should be an elite goal scorer in Connor Bedard. It could just be so much fun seeing two guys who are so highly renowned go to, let's be honest, objectively dog shit teams who are going the right direction. This would be a lot of fun, as long as you don't hate either of these teams, which I fucking hate the Chicago Blackhawks. So,
I'm like, first of all, fun. Very fun. I don't know how Marner and Chicago would actually go as far as the potential, how fun they would be watching play with Bedard. Because I mean, it's still a step down, obviously, from where he is now. He's played a lot with Matthews, is his setup guy, one of the best goal scorers on the planet at this point, better than Bedard, obviously. But depending on whatever other moves might happen, because of obviously like this is a crazy scenario, but if both teams were like, nope, we have to go all in now, like that we've been so dog shit for so long, that they actually went out and made a couple other moves. Like both, I'm trying to think of some other ones that could be under the radar but incredibly effective moves, because I mean it's going to be a ton of money for both of those guys regardless. And I haven't even looked at what the cap situation is for the Sharks or the Blackhawks. I can't imagine anything. Can't imagine it's much. Can't imagine they've got much on the books. But like, weirdly, the idea that is the most fun to me is just that, like, Rantanen with Celebrini. Macklin Celebrini is so fucking good at hockey. What he's doing this year as the youngest player in the league on a bad hockey team is insane. So the idea of like him and Rantanen playing together, like I just love watching Rantanen play because he's like kind of a giant rat, but also like the ability for him to score and set up without, I swear to God, it looks like his stick just doesn't move, but like he's so big and strong that he just like rifles the puck like shelf from deep, and his passing is sick and he's really fun. So I'm all in on that.
What if John Tavares also went to Chicago?
Hey, I heard there was some fun happening, so I thought I'd come on over and simmer it down a little bit.
I heard Mitchie and his dog were going there, so I'm in.
Oh, so you know, good group.
Actually, that's the move. What if Mitch Marner and Brad Marchand went to Chicago?
On the line, they have to play together, stall right next to each other. Like,
I don't care if they play together. The stall next to each other is required.
Do you think Brad Marchand would leave Boston if he's not playing alongside his best friend and favorite player in the league, Mitch Marner?
It makes sense.
He said it a million times. He's his favorite player in the league. He called him Mitchie, mic'd up.
Mitchie.
They shared a stall.
Now, I gotta say though, the one free agent that I'm going to be very outspoken about, he needs to end up in either Minnesota or Pittsburgh.
Does his first name start with N?
It probably does. What's the last name start with?
E.
Does it end in Lurs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Mm-hmm.
If Nikolai Ehlers ends up in Minnesota or Pittsburgh, I will do backflips. Like literal, like there will be a video of me breaking my neck trying to do a backflip. If that happens.
Happily.
But yes, and on top of this, I got to say, like we talked about it on Judd's Buds, but I have to throw it out here. Chicago's been in the rebuild for 1 or 2 seasons longer than San Jose. And it feels like San Jose has been doing the rebuild better. Because they both suck, but everyone's excited about the Sharks. They're fun to watch, and the Blackhawks are not. And you've seen the Sharks move on from players, and they have subsequently brought in their goalie of the future. Blackhawks now following suit, sending out a Seth Jones, bringing in a Spencer Knight. Are the Blackhawks like the senior that's cheating off of the sophomore, like trying to do everything they can to just copy their friends in the Sharks who are basically on the same trajectory? Like basically the idea is that 5 or 6 years from now, these two are fighting each other every year for who's going to represent the West in the Cup final. Mm-hmm. And I'm very heavily leaning Team Sharks so far.
It's crazy too, because like last year, the Sharks obviously before the season started go out of their way to tank. And the tank went so unbelievably bad that it was like, okay, we knew you were tanking, but this is insane. To the point where the GM had a meeting with the players about the team that he purposely tanked, but they were losing too hard. They lost like 400 games in a row. And of course they ended up beating Edmonton because Edmonton was in that shit show of their season.
Hang on.
The toilet bowl dude was so funny.
Hang on, what would this year's equivalent be though of like a really good team that gets beat by the Blackhawks on like both of them going on opposite streaks? Like who is this year's version of the Edmonton Oilers? In
Nashville?
No, Nashville sucks.
I know, but they weren't supposed to be they weren't supposed to be bad at all. I went like,
I'm saying like who is good like Edmonton, who could be like on like a 9-game heater while the Blackhawks are on like an 8-game losing streak and then lose to the Blackhawks 3-2 and be like, what the fuck? Like, is there a team that like would, I don't know.
No, because
I've lost my question.
No, I mean, because like that game, it was like Edmonton was like also right in front of the Sharks. They were so bad. And that's why it was so funny.
Oh, that's right. They were doing really bad. You're right. Okay, so yeah, Nashville makes sense, son.
That's why it was so funny. It was just like, holy shit. But like at that point, or like even before that, like literally Greer had a meeting with the players that he signed because they were loose. They were like, I knew you. Imagine how that meeting went. I know you guys suck, but like not this bad. I know how terrible you are. I signed you, but you can't do this bullshit.
No, hang on though. That wasn't the GM. That was the coach being like, all right, boys, if you wanted me out, you could have fucking told me. Like,
yeah, it's fucking seriously. But
they didn't fire him after that game. They waited one more game, and then like, okay, now you're gone.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
But it was crazy though that like the Sharks had that, like they tanked too hard for their own sake. But like since that point, like they've made a bunch of like pretty good moves, and they brought in players to play with guys like Celebrini, Smith. And I mean, picked up guys for literally like Jake Walton for free. And at no point has anyone been like, oh, this isn't looking good. Like it was a brief, complete shit show. And then they fix it. Chicago has just been like 2-3 years of an absolute like bottomless pit of awful hockey. And then you go out, you get Bedard, and it's like, this is a kid that is a generational hockey player. And even still, they're like, tell you what, I don't know when this is going to get any better whatsoever. But the fact, again, they bring in, again, like the Jones trade worked out. So that's a good starting point. They've drafted a couple of players the last couple of years. But like, it is crazy. It's like the NHL team, like it's been like, even if these kids come in and are good, that's 3, 4, 5 years away. Right. But like the Sharks have made enough moves where it's like, okay, we see light at the end of the tunnel, and like Celebrini's come in as one of the most mature young like rookies of all time, as far as just like how good he is immediately.
They got the Will Smith that's not going to smack Chris Rock.
Exactly. It's early. It's early. He might.
Togo.
No.
Yep. But yes. All right. Well, again, shout out to our incredible friends, Barrel Theory Beer Company. Everyone go out and support them. Tap room, pre and post game for all of the home games in March, or at the X when maybe we're celebrating the turnaround for wins and you're drinking happily, or it's the same old shit where we're losing all of our home games and you can drink your sorrows away. Either way, Barrel Theory is the cure.